Good morning, good afternoon, depending upon where you are. My name is Tara. I manage the educator community. Welcome, welcome. I'm so excited to have you all here. We will be starting shortly our third and final installment of the series. We're going to be looking at Manager Advanced. So hopefully you had an opportunity to join us for the other two. If not, you can find them in the community. You should see a link that has been shared. I'd love to hear where you guys are from. If you could just drop that into chat, where you're from, your district name, the city would be, or city, state would be awesome if I can't tell by your district name. Also, you'll see soon a link for our community, and I'm going to take you there in just a minute. Don't see, hold on. I don't know if anyone's had a chance to put into chat just yet. No worries. I'll give you guys just a minute and then I'll move in. Do we have the link in our chat just yet? Perfect. Awesome. So again, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully during our Q&A, we'll get to hear your voices, get to learn a little bit more about you through your questions and perhaps where you're from. If you have not joined the community, the link that's just been dropped into our chat is the link to take you to the community. And that is where I'm going to meet you here. So this is our community forum. Hold on a second. And actually, let's share. I want to take you back here first. It took you here to, there we go. Nope, that's not that one. ViewSonic community. I have so many. Okay, there. Let's try that one instead. Okay, you guys are seeing my screen. Yes. So this is where the link takes you, and this is kind of our community bulletin or banner that's running. This is our district spotlight. Super excited to be shining a bright light on Lancaster School District in California. And their technology integration is pretty stellar, particularly around how they did their rollout with professional development. So I would encourage you, if you haven't done so already, to read that. The other banner titles that go across talk about our ambassador program, in addition to our Expert Academy. That window's getting ready to close actually on Friday. So if you're thinking about applying, you'll want to do that soon. I want to take you to this tab right underneath where it says Join the Community. When you click on that tab, it's going to take you into our community. And our educator community serves as another layer of support around our ecosystem, okay? So you can find PD resources if you've had the privilege of having the professional development team in your district, then you'll want to pop into here because it's going to give you additional support to guide you through the process post PD session. This is what's new, what's getting ready to take place in the community. And also you will find what has already taken place, our video library, which is growing, and I'm super thrilled about it. Again, if you weren't able to catch the other two sessions with Haley around Manager, you can find them in the webinar recording section. Where I want to take you is here to this thread, because if you would like to be a participant in our giveaway for our interactive display, hopefully for those of you who joined us right at the top, you saw that I'm giving away a interactive pin display. And in order to participate, I need you to drop a comment in this thread. However, you can only do that if you join the community, okay? So there are definitely privileges that come with joining, but for purpose of this particular session, it's the only way that's going to get you into the pool to possibly win our interactive display. Okay, so what I do, and I always do this, is I do keep this open. This kind of opportunity stays open for an hour after our session, so you can feel free to listen in now, and then after the session you can put a comment there, and your comments will just, I've already started one here, will go right underneath. Okay, and again, you'll just pop into this thread. Okay, does everyone see? Okay, just want to make sure everyone's seeing the right screen. Perfect. Okay, so without any further ado, we're going to bring on Miss Haley to talk about Manager Advanced. Super excited to hear about Manager Advanced, to hear the benefits that come with it. So tune in, and here is Haley.
Hi, everyone. As Tara mentioned, I'm Haley. I'm a product manager here at ViewSonic. And if you are new to our series, we've been talking about Manager for the last 3 webinars. And this one, we're going to be talking specifically about our enhanced Manager features with Manager Advanced. So if you missed any of those, no worries. We'll go through an overview of what we talked about in previous sessions. But this is a great introduction to a really great software solution that is intended to really benefit our hardware products that you may already be used to right now. So as we go through, I am using our wonderful other software called My View Board, and I'm using it as a presentation tool. We've had several other webinars that have focused on this software specifically. So if I do anything during the presentation today that you want to learn more about, we have those sessions recorded and they're on our YouTube video. We also have several other playlists regarding both My View Board and Manager and everything that we're going to be talking about today. So stay tuned. Hope you learned something. But for the things that we can look forward to for learning today, I'm going to do an introduction to Manager Advanced and catch you up if you may have missed those previous sessions. We're also going to talk about how you can actually put your different pieces of hardware into device groups to make managing them a whole lot easier. We're also going to talk about profiles, which is specific setting preferences that you can set up and push out remotely to all the panels, which is definitely intended with the overall theme of making it simpler and easier for you and your team to manage your controlled devices in your organization. We're also going to talk about remote control and an item called Remote Desktop that it's allow you to actually enter into any type of display that you have and see what is appearing on that screen. You can also enter into the settings, so more on that later. And finally, we're going to talk about how you can use Manager to broadcast multimedia, live streams, web pages, and all of the sorts. So when we talk about Manager, there are many different things that we try to focus on. Really, there are 3 main things that I always like to do to kind of frame it into perspective. So the first pillar is the monitoring and controlling of your devices. The second is that campus communication portion. So when I say campus communication, this can be both corporate and education spaces. But when we see this in different educational environments, we see this for things like morning announcements or signage about new lunch menus or upcoming football games. A wide use and variety of cases that you can put on for making sure that everyone is informed about what's going on around your campus. And then finally, urgent alerts, which was our last webinar. So if you missed it, we do have integrations with third-party emergency alert service providers that have made it a whole lot easier for us to be able to receive very crucial and important messages to our panels, along with anything that you may be using for door alarms, fire drills, anything of the sorts. If you missed that, feel free to go back into community and look up that video, or otherwise you can go to our YouTube channel. So let's go ahead and get started with the overall of Manager. So for Manager, we're going to have a couple of different items that we want to see for the overview. So this is a complimentary version. I just want to give us another brief introduction of what is going on with Manager. As I mentioned, this is a cloud-based access control that allows you to remotely monitor and control your devices from wherever you are. So ViewSonic displays already have a complimentary Manager solution already preloaded and embedded for the moment that you unload your hardware. So this can be on your digital displays like the commercial displays, or even your interactive flat panels. We also do have solutions that allow you to add something called a viewboard box to non-ViewSonic displays, and you can still be able to easily control them. So definitely a great solution for a large rollout of a mixed environment solution. But overall, this is a process that allows you to easily send things like those broadcasts and alerts, and definitely focus on these robust features. I also wanted to talk about creating these device groups. So this is a really big feature that's going to make it a whole lot easier for you to manage being able to focus on the specific areas of your campus that you need to send messages to, or certain settings. So with Manager, you have the option to organize your devices into groups and subgroups. This is extremely helpful, especially if you are managing an entire district. For example, you can have an entire group for each individual campus, and then within that campus, you can have a subgroup for the different buildings or the different classrooms set up in that environment. So it makes it a lot easier to push out the same types of commands or controls for anyone that is affected for, let's say, a Tuesday lunch special, and sending out to a very specific campus. The other thing is doing morning announcements for different grade levels. So you can do this really and make it organized to your needs. Keep this in mind as we're going through the Manager Advanced features. You can always apply the features within Manager Advanced either to a single device, all of the devices across, or you can specify specific groups. So again, intended to make it easier on you to manage these devices and also focus on sending out the correct information to each correct panel. So now let's get into the advanced features. So again, we have that complimentary version of Manager that you all are welcome to join and start using right now. We have the entire series talking about these complimentary features that you already have access to. However, we do have more enhanced features with an upgrade called Manager Advanced. So this is really going to be the meat of the presentation today. And I want to talk about some of these key features that are going to really enhance your experience of using Manager and also get the most out of your hardware investments. So the main things that I want to talk about is that Manager Advanced, just to clarify, is based off of licenses. So those licenses are per device. So what that means is these are not tied to serial numbers. So you don't have to worry about maybe a device aging out or having an issue. You will not have to purchase a new license to cover that device. You can easily manage and rearrange those licenses based on your needs. So this is something unique in the space because we want you to have access to your investments. So if you run into any issues, we're able to easily move it around so you still can have this functionality. When we talk about Manager Advanced, we usually try to match it up with the hardware warranty. So depending on your interactive flat panel or your commercial display, we usually provide licenses based on your selection of choice for that warranty. The reason for this is because this is an investment into your hardware products that is also going to make them last longer, be more efficient, and also get the most out of the investment overall. So there are 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, and 7 year licenses. And again, you can purchase as many as you want, or you can also have a mixed environment with some manager advanced licenses and some of the complementary depending on your needs. But if we're talking about the overall features and what you get with these advanced features, I've highlighted some of the most used and popular features within Manager Advanced. But as you're going to see, there's also a feature overview of all of the different upgrades that you get from the complimentary version. So if I'm to start talking about it, the first one I want to mention is job scheduling. Job scheduling allows you to automate certain commands that you would normally use on demand. So like you would normally use a remote control to, let's say, change the input or turn off the display or turn it on. You have the ability to do job scheduling directly in Manager and schedule it out per day. So as you can see from the screenshot, there are multiple examples of how you can do something like a schedule startup and shutdown for your panels. So you can choose to do it weekly and choose specific days of the week where you want the panel to turn on or also to power off. So what this allows you to do is be able to send out these commands, set them up at the very beginning of the school year or during the summer as you're preparing, and you won't have to go back into the portal and revise this. It's going to stay there for as long as you choose for the certain duration, and this is going to allow you to be able to go through. And as I'm going through this presentation, I do see that some Q&A are coming through. So from here and there, I will probably pause and also refer and respond to some of these questions as they come along. But otherwise, I will answer most of these at the end. But I do see there is one question that has come through right now. So if I were to repeat what I see here, the question is, will there be any updates to how Manager works with the EDLA panels? So for those of you who are unaware, the EDLA is a new type of certification process for our devices. It's an operating system that is an Android certified EDLA, so basically a Google product. And right now, this is a new operating system for our products and other products in the industry. And yes, there are plans for updating Manager. Since this is a new product, we are always building out our own software and to match the needs of this new operating system and hardware. So we do have a roadmap coming up with new features for EDLA that we'll be happy to share with you in the community and also in some emails coming up soon. The idea here is to match it to be almost identical to all of our standard Android operating system products. So this is something that every time we introduce a new product, this is the flexibility that we have with being able to produce our own software. So Manager is a software that we create in-house, and anytime that we have an update for feature requests or anything like that, it has come directly from customers and end users just like you. So as you're going through, if there's something that you feel like we're missing, you're always welcome to send in those requests. Those requests go to someone like me, and then I share it with our global team and our development team who are able to put your requests into direct action. So thank you for that question. And I'll keep an eye on the rest of the Q&A as they come in. So going back to job scheduling, I just have one example of the schedule startup and shutdown, but there are plenty of other ones as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to navigate quickly to our Manager software. And right now, as you can see, what I'm using is my view board. And I'm just going to quickly back over because I seem to have lost my web page that I was looking at. So I'm just going to grab that real quick and I'm going to put it behind here. So with Manager and using my view board, I have something called this Windows toggle. So this is a my view board feature, just if you were curious. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this so that we can get a better view of Manager and I can mark up what we're looking at. So if you have not seen the Manager dashboard just yet, this is what you would expect. You can see the overall of your devices here listed with certain things with your status, also device information by clicking on the display here. And then you would also have the ability to access that remote control. Again, this is all covered in our previous webinar, but one thing I do want to show you is the jobs. So jobs allows you, again, to set up all of these commands here. So if we were to look at some of these commands, it includes setting up the audio, adjusting brightness, the power off, restarting, changing input source, screen lock. This is a really big one, and especially for environments where maybe students will occasionally have access to classrooms during lunchtime. Either they're meeting with their teachers, or if they are allowed to eat lunch in those classrooms or get some additional tutoring time. Locking the screen can be very helpful for those interactive panels to make sure that students aren't going into the panels and looking up anything that they shouldn't be, or accessing anything on the panel. So this is definitely something that we see scheduled around lunchtime typically, just to make it easier and have that peace of mind for the security of those panels. Another big one is updating the firmware. So again, if you want to turn off those over-the-air updates for the firmware and maybe schedule it for a long weekend, you would be able to update the firmware specifically to your time frame. The other ones that we're going to be talking about, and I'll go into more depth about it, is broadcast. So this is where you would go specifically if you want to send out media content about maybe morning news announcements, do a live stream, or do a recorded YouTube video. This is a great place to go. And as you can see, you can broadcast up to 4 different pieces of media at once. So this is really a great way to make sure that everyone is being able to use the entire screen real estate of your panels. So as you may be already aware, for your ViewSonic hardware, we have 55 inches all the way up to 105 inches. So that is a lot of screen room to be able to present information, make everyone aware of upcoming football games, homecoming dances, anything of the sorts. You can easily put this in broadcast, and one of the great ways to do it is you have scheduling. So you can choose to do it one time, or you can have it on a recurring schedule. So this is, again, where we would go in and say, Mondays and Wednesdays, we want a very specific morning announcement to go out. Maybe we have pep rallies each month. You could set this up to do quick reminders. And of course, you can do an end date. So you have access to a calendar to really customize and make it how you want to use it. So definitely something that would be great for when you're getting ready for back to school, or as we are approaching winter break, prepping for a new semester. This is a great way to do a refresh. So this is jobs, and as you can see, you can apply it to multiple devices, and then again, you can do it by a single device or an entire group. So great. I'm going to go back to my presentation and my viewboard, and I just hit that, my viewboard cloud, and now I'm able to go back to my presentation. So a couple of things that we're going to see here besides job scheduling are profiles. So profiles allow us to really navigate and create settings that are going to be better and more efficient for your users. So I am going to go back to the settings here and briefly show you profiles and tell you about how this can be beneficial for your schools. So if you are part of a team that is rolling out these different pieces of hardware, one thing that you might realize is that there are a lot of settings on these panels to navigate one by one. So as you can see with profiles, this is intended to improve that method of doing this large rollout of panels. So traditionally, you would have to stand in front of a panel, use a remote, and navigate to each setting preference. This was improved using something called USB cloning. So what you could do then, settings of one panel, copy it over to a USB thumb drive, but you would still have to take that thumb drive and manually put it into each panel. So definitely a lot faster process, but still time consuming, especially if you're going across a large campus and having to plug in to all these different displays, or even if you are just short-staffed. If you're taking a lot of the load of having to manage your devices, profiles is the solution for you, because you're going to be able to set up things like your Wi-Fi. You can even do specific wallpaper settings. But preferences really is where it makes it easy to do things like language, date and time, special startup and shutdown schedules with eco mode. You can even choose the specific input that you want your panels to start up on. So definitely good for our schools that are using Windows slot and PCs. If you want your teachers to bypass that Android side, they can definitely go to select input and choose the Windows option. So you make it easier for the mornings and for your staff, and hopefully reduce those tickets that come in for any requests to fix their boards. You have settings, passwords, you have different inputs, source controls. You even have the option to control the apps and send out specific devices or APKs that you already have. And overall, this is going to allow you more freedom to be able to apply specific preferences to each panels. Again, you can apply it to a group of displays if this makes sense for you. So I'm going to go back and navigate to my view board. The other thing that I want to talk about is remote desktop. So we've talked a lot about ways to make these features work for you, make it less time consuming for you to travel on site to a specific panel. But as you can see, remote desktop is one of those features that allows you to navigate directly into a panel to see the features. So let me zoom in so you can get a better idea of this screenshot here. But what you'll notice is that this is the actual view that you'll see when you are in the manager dashboard. It is going to appear on both your desktop screen where you are remoting into the device, and there's also going to be a message to let the user who is in front of that physical hardware to know that someone is looking at their screen. So definitely that security component, making sure that the teachers do not feel like they are being spied on without their permission. We want to be transparent with this specific tool to make sure that you are using it appropriately yourself for the team, and also making sure that the teachers are comfortable. But this feature allows you to navigate into a screen from wherever you are without having to be in person. Again, this is going to allow you to get into specific settings. You can change preferences. So great way to troubleshoot if you're working with someone who's unfamiliar with the display and helping them go through the setting controls, or if you need to monitor what is being displayed on the screen, this is a great place to go as well. However, we are talking about things that require security, and we want to make sure that everyone feels safe. So one of those additional features that you get with Manager Advanced are permissions. So again, you probably don't want all of your staff members to have that ability to use remote desktop. Completely reasonable. And so with permissions, you have the ability to edit permissions based on specific device groups. So you could have different people in charge of certain campuses or specific devices. And you can have access to things like who is allowed to broadcast, or who is allowed to do the settings lock or update the firmware. So what we recommend, we have different device roles, and you can base these off of your IT staff, your teachers, maybe principals, or even office secretary staff. So for example, in the case of an office secretary, maybe you want them to be in control of your announcements, or maybe those specific broadcast messages that you want to be sent out. So this is a great place to remove all of their access from the specific IT components and just allow them to have access to the multimedia and sending out those broadcasted messages. Whereas you, as an IT director, probably want access to all of the devices and all of the permissions in this the space. So you can do it based on each user, provide them with different levels of access, or you can do it based on permission group types. So again, these are just some common ideas, but if you are using this in a very specific way, we'd love to hear about that. So feel free to put it in our chat here. Love to see how you're using it right now. These are some of the most important main features that we see used within Manager right now, but as you can see, there are other ones as well. So this is going to include doing file transfers from panel to panel directly from your dashboard. And we also have backup and restore points. So this is especially good for any time that maybe you have new users, just in case someone changes a setting and you need to revert back, you can always go back to that restore point that you had picked earlier on. There are another features that I want to talk about, and I will go into a little more depth just because I feel like they are especially useful and something that we see very often in our spaces. So this is going to be our multimedia broadcast. So as you can see, there are multiple ways to keep all of your students and staff informed on campus. And one of those things is through broadcasts. So in a previous webinar, we talked about the basic text-based messages. So for example, you can send a note from the office to a specific classroom asking students to visit. Maybe they have a call from home that they need to take care of, or they're being taken out for a dentist appointment. So this is a great way to send the information. But if you want to do a little bit more than that, that's where the multimedia broadcasts come in. You do, again, have the ability to send it instantly, or you can schedule it for one time on a daily basis or weekly. So let's go ahead and look at what this might look like. So as I talked about earlier, you have the ability to broadcast with zones. So again, that's up to 4 individual pieces of content, up to 1 video playing at a time. But this is a great way to keep everyone informed. So if you have a spring concert coming up, for example, maybe you have a video from last year's spring concert that you want to use, or it's a sizzle reel or something like that to get people informed. Then on the other side, you can have specific information about how to sign up, where it's going to be located, and then you can have another banner with your school's logo. So again, you can broadcast more than 1 media type at a time, and some of those examples include PowerPoint, Google Slides, YouTube videos, web pages, playlists, and even live streams. So I'm going to go more in depth on this, but this is something that we've definitely seen multi-use cases for keeping everyone informed on campus. So again, I would be really interested to know if you have any specific use cases. Feel free to put that in the chat also. We would love to see how you're using it, or even if you want to talk about it in community and share your best practices with your fellow peers, that'd be a great place to go and talk about it. So one of those features that I talked about was broadcasting web pages specifically. So as you can see, because we are a global company and we're also supporting different organizations, I've included a couple of examples of how we are seeing web pages being used in both the educational space, but even places in retail enterprise, just for you to have examples and kind of think about ways that you could use this feature. So this is using the broadcast that I was just showing you. And one of those things is being able to choose from the multimedia or PowerPoint, but you can also choose a web page. So in educational spaces, we know a lot of teachers and staff members are using Google Slides. So with Google Slides, you have the ability to create a slide, create a whole presentation within Google Slides, and then publish that as a link to the web. That link is going to be your ticket into a quick and seamless way to broadcast your communication across campus. Because what that means is that you take that one link and you can add it into the manager broadcast and you can put it on a schedule. And now you do not have to return to manager every time you update that slide. We have an option within manager that allows you to refresh the feed, meaning if you go at the end of the day and update that Google slide with a new event or a new RSVP date or anything of the sorts, it's going to do a live update in that Google slide. And now that link, because manager is refreshing the feed, is going to appear with that refreshed information the next time it's scheduled to broadcast. So again, we want to keep your teachers and staff in environments where they feel the most comfortable and without having to force them to learn an entire new ecosystem. So this is a great way to kind of bridge the gap, allow them to feel more comfortable and stay in the design spaces where they want to, inform people of the summer science camp and get those signups. But this is also where people are, using live streams from YouTube to present on maybe esports tournaments or special commencements. So this is a great place for you to go and be able to broadcast. So I just want to present a few ideas of how we're seeing these be used already, but definitely somewhere that is going to get the most of out of your panels, because we know primarily these interactive flat panels are going to be used as teaching devices. But as you are focusing on the overall investment, sometimes we are encouraged to use it for multi-purpose spaces. So being able to use that interactive flat panel is also another piece of communication. Keeping everyone informed is a great place to start. So I've gone through a lot of the features today, and I wanted to just give you a brief highlight of what the differences are from that very first session about Manager, the complimentary version, to the enhanced features with Manager Advanced. So as you can see, we have this chart available. We also have it on our ViewSonic.com page specifically for Manager. But if you have any questions or information, please feel free to put it in the chat. This is all things that we want to provide you the opportunity to see how maybe you are able to benefit from a product like this. But if you are already using Manager Advanced and you have requests, we also want to hear from you as well. So please place those in community. Please keep sharing all of the great ways that you are innovating and adding these amazing slideshows to your school and news announcements or anything of the sort. We want to stay informed to make sure that we are still constantly improving the product so it works for you. So right now I'm going to quickly pause and just see if we have any additional Q&A. Okay, let's see. I have a couple of questions here. So I have one question. Is this going to be recorded? Yes, it is recorded, and we'll place it in community, and we'll also provide you a YouTube link. Another one here. Let's see. There's a question about, do you have a connector for Yodec? That is a digital signage service. So one thing that I'll mention too is that we do have API connections directly in Manager. So this will allow you to take any APIs that are being used for any of your current software or use cases right now. That is one way that we were allowed to work with those emergency alert service providers, was that we were able to use something called CAP messaging, or the Common Alerting Protocol. So we do have the ability to integrate with third parties. Either it's something like you just use an API, or it's more involved process like that CAP messaging, where as long as we have the information working with that company, we can easily get them integrated with our platform if they are compatible. So that is something that I can look into. If they have an API, we can use that. If it's something that we need to work more specifically on getting on the back end, that's something we can look into. So thank you for that. All right. Another question here. What is the component that works with non-ViewSonic display panels? So that is called the viewboard box. The actual SKU name is the VBS 200A. So that's something that is already on our website if you want to take a look at that. That is essentially using the RS-232 protocols to connect to the panel. So again, if you're using a basic TV, that usually is not going to have the RS-232 ports on it. But if you're using another smart panel or another commercial display, even projectors, we're able to connect with those and do the basic commands like turning it on and off, changing input, sending broadcast messages, all of the sorts. The viewboard box additionally will bring you into the viewboard ecosystem, so you're going to have access to our ViewSonic launcher and things like that. All right, I think we have, awesome. Thank you, Jeremy. I see that you left a link for Yodec, so we'll definitely look into that and hopefully get back to you with that. Awesome. So I think that was it for the questions. So one of the other things, I just want to leave you quickly with these resources before we go to our game, and then I hand it back over to Tara. But of course, if you need more information, we have the YouTube channel. And then of course, educator community. This is going to be the place where we really want you to connect with us so that we can learn from your needs. You can give us your feedback but we also just want to see you share with your peers about how you're using these current products, anything that you recommend, and we want to make it a safe place for you to ask questions and learn. Of course, if you need additional services, we do offer professional development, and that is going to be a customized on-site training for you, teachers, staff across the board. And this is going to be custom to your needs. So if you want to focus more on actually using our interactive panels, you can definitely do that. But if you want to learn more about how to use Manager Advanced and how to set it up with your displays, we also have a setup for on-site training specifically for that. So those are our resources. Want to make sure that you feel informed. But this leaves me quickly with, I want to spend just a few minutes here playing our review game. So you may know that this is something that we are constantly playing, and something that we really enjoy here is the ability to play this review game. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask a few questions, see if we need to help explain anything or, make sure you're paying attention. But this is a great place that if you do have questions to figure out how we can help you. So without further ado, I'm just going to quickly place my Finch here. Just for our educators, we know we got to keep you engaged. So I'm going to ask my first question. Can someone let me know how you would access, settings for your panels within Manager? Do you remember the specific name? And for those of you who want to participate in the game, I would love for you to place your answers in the chat. It's going to be a lot quicker for me to review. So if you have the answer, place that in the chat. So where would you go to set up settings for the panel? There is a specific term, and this is going to help you navigate more easily when you're using Manager Advanced. So once you have the answer, go ahead and put it in the chat. And if I don't see any go into the chat, I will cheat for you and I'll give you the answer. And so since I'm not seeing any come through right now, I'll go ahead and give you that answer. So the place that you would go for setting up settings or preferences on the panel is going to be called profiles. So I'll give you that one. We're going to go ahead and roll the dice here, and we're moving our Finch 4 places. 1, 2, 3, 4. Perfect. Okay, my next question. I want to set up my devices so they are using automated commands. What is the name of the feature where I would be able to set up automated commands? So go ahead and put that in the chat. Okay, I'm seeing a few come through right now. So go ahead, and if you have that answer, awesome. So this one is jobs. So I'm going to go ahead and spin the wheel here. So profiles is going to be for the settings. Jobs is going to be for automation. Only 2 spaces. That's okay. Let's go ahead and move our Finch anyways. 1, 2. Next one. How do you set up different levels of access for your users in your organization? Can you name the specific feature for that? And I do see a couple of responses coming in that the chat is not available. No worries, put in the Q&A and I will find it. So again, where would you go to provide different levels of access for your different departments? So maybe principals, your IT teams, teachers, staff in your office. What is the name of that feature? This one is permissions. So good job if you got that correct. We're going to move that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, let's see if we can get this one home. couple other questions for you here. How would you be able to publish a Google slide? So if I want to, send Google Slides that I've already published to the web to my panel, what is the place where I would go to send that Google Slide so that it shows up on the panels? So what is that feature where we either share Google Slides or multimedia messages? What's that name? So I'll give you a second here. Where would I go to broadcast the images or Google Slides? There's a specific name, just hinting at it. Okay, perfect. That is broadcast. I did help you there a little bit. So you would go ahead and go into broadcast, and then of course you can do it straight from the dashboard, or you would be able to access it from jobs. Okay, we have one more question. Let's get the Finch home. My last question is regarding all of the things that we talked about today. What is one new feature that you learned about that you were not previously aware of that Manager Advanced offered? So this is a free-for-all. Just want to see your responses. What is something new that you learned that you didn't previously know about Manager or Manager Advanced? So as those come through, I am already going to give us permission to send this Finch home because I think you all did a great job. I can tell that you were paying attention, so fantastic job to all of you. Now I'm going to leave it back over to Tara, but if you have any questions for me, please feel free to let us know. But it's been a great time with all of you. Hope you learned something new. Can't wait to see all of your responses come through. And now I'll leave it back to Tara. So thank you.
Thank you, Haley. I saw one question come in, and I want to make sure. Hold on one second. I just want to go back and make sure they didn't. Hold on. Is there a document or video on how to set up CAP for emergency alerts?
We can provide that to you after this call. We do have a couple of documents based on the emergency alert service provider that you're currently using. And then we also have basic information about how to set it up. If we're not working with one of your providers right now, we do have a list of main ones that we already are fully integrated with. But if it's one that we're not currently using, like I mentioned before, we have the flexibility to start working with them. We just need a contact, and then we can work with that company and get that back-end integration done.
Perfect. Thank you again, Haley, and thank you all for your questions. I do see a few of you have responded to Haley's last ask regarding what is something you learned new. Remember, you can copy and paste that response right into the community, but I saw that people put learning about permissions, ability to profiles, different permissions for different users. Excellent. So awesome. Thank you for sharing that. If you have more questions, Haley did mention that the community does serve as a kind of a safe place for you to to sound off and ask those questions. You're asking them among fellow community members, but also what will happen if something goes unresponded, then you can rest assured that someone on the ViewSonic team, technical support, customer support, someone on the team will respond with to address your specific question. Just as a reminder, there was a link that was dropped into our Q&A at the top of our time together. That link will take you to our educator community space, which will allow you to not only participate in this particular giveaway for the interactive pin display, But also, if you go into the product form here at the top and select manager here, it will take you into the product form, video center, knowledge base, what's new. You can find, this is a great resource to utilize as well, particularly if you went through this session and perhaps you got a couple of questions incorrect. No worries. We're definitely here to support. And so you can get a refresher here. Also, I know the question was asked earlier, is this being recorded? It is. And so just know that all of you all who participated in this session, you will receive a recording link via email when it's available. And also you can come back here. If I go back into the community, I showed you a little earlier that we have a beautiful webinar recordings library that is constantly evolving and growing. And so know that you will be able to find the recording here as well, in addition to the other two sessions that Haley did around manager. So we got you covered. Okay, just as a reminder, if you want to participate in our giveaway, you will come here to this thread. You're going to click right on the event that we're currently in. And I see some of you have already done so. Awesome, you're done. Check that off your box. And know that what I'll do after this is over, you'll see that I'll like each and every one of these. That lets you know that your name has been entered into my wheel of names. And so an hour after this session wraps up, I will announce the winner here. But I will also send an email letting you know that you've won, because I will need your address to send you your interactive pin display. Okay, any additional questions, comments for myself or Haley? Hold on, let me go back to, I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay, someone else learned about Raptor. Awesome, awesome. I see some thank yous. You're very welcome. Anyone else before we wrap up? Okay, so don't forget, you have an hour. So let's see, we'll end right before 12. So by 1 o'clock, I will kind of close it then. Hopefully you'll have an opportunity to join the community. Again, just click on that link that's available in our Q&A. If you're not a member, you will put in your credentials one time, I promise. And then every subsequent time you come into the community, it will log you in automatically. And you'll know that you're in as yourself if you see either a picture or your initials here in the top right. If you don't see either one of those, you're in our visitor mode, and it won't allow you to actually respond to the prompt about some session feedback from us. Okay. Hopefully all of your questions have been addressed. Thank you again for joining us. Look for us next month. We'll have more webinars, digital workshops in the community. Thank you, Haley. I always appreciate it. And thank you all. Have a good rest of your day. Thank you.